back to another edition of Doctor vs. Dirt. Today I'm just going to take you through a complete video of us making our garden. It's pretty helpful to people who are planning a garden and doing one. I don't go through absolute detail on everything like pulling fence or the watering system that we're going to do in this video. I'll probably make some other videos for those specific things, but I hope you enjoy this video. It's really kind of a long project for us, and I'm pretty happy with the outcome. I want to show you a really cool discovery that I made. When I bought this property, this big field had already been graded, and lo and behold, as I'm looking through some of the area out on my property, I find the mound of dirt that they pretty much just scraped off the top of my field, and I want to show it to you because it was very helpful when it came to our garden. So this is a big mound that you can see has basically just raspberry growing all over it and other weeds, although there's a big patch of raspberries that we're gonna pick, and my wife makes raspberry pies from wild raspberries. But all of this big pile here, stretching almost the entire length of the field, was topsoil. So you can see up there all that sort of just barren clay that's baked almost into pottery. And here sits this really nice dirt that they scraped off the top of the field. Now it's not a big deal because I'm just using it right now to grow grass, and I'm just mowing the grass into the big field. But look at all this beautiful dirt. It's got old decomposing stumps in it and everything else that's been sitting here for a couple of years. It's pretty nice looking dirt, got a lot of nutrients in it. Now what I did is I came along here with my pallet forks and I just stabbed into this, ripped all the raspberries off the top of it, and then just used my pallet forks to break this up because it had been sitting here for so many years. Even my bucket does not have teeth on it, but even a bucket with teeth would have a hard time digging into this compacted dirt. So those pallet forks were really, really useful for just stabbing into this and busting it up. So obviously dirt is just huge for a garden, and that's why we needed to amend the hard pack clay that was over on the area where we cleared for the garden. It's just critical to find some of this good dirt and lay it over the top. So here you can see the dirt that I've dumped in comparison to the red clay around it. You can see how much darker it is and how much more nutrient content it has. So what I did here, pretty simple. When you have a box blade, life is good. So I just box bladed this area. It happens to slope both this way and that way. So it's got nice drainage to it. And then I used my box blade here, and you can see I set 3 of the scarifying teeth as low as they would go, and I took the outer ones off because my wife and I figured out the dimensions of this, mostly her, and she wanted 3-foot wide rows. So this is about 3 feet wide once I rip it. Now these scarifying teeth were very important because this ground was so hard packed. This was really like almost like asphalt, and even a heavy duty tiller I would have just been muscling. And so what I do is I rip through it, and you can see here this dirt here has been ripped and then tilled. So I ripped through it with the scarifiers to bust it up, and then I just have a small handheld tiller that went right through it once the scarifying teeth broke it up. And then I just dumped this on here, and we're going to get 5 rows in here, and this will be a nice little garden, 32 by 40. And I'll make a separate video. We're going to run an irrigation system across the top here, coming right from those wonderful water catchment bins. Watch that video to see how to make those. And that will just come right down here, and we'll have drip lines on a timer with my free sky water. So here I have my handy dandy Ryobi tool with the expanded system, and I have the tiller attachment. It's perfect for these small jobs. This is not something you'd use on a large area, but it's a great little attachment for doing rows and when we each year have to till stuff under. It's relatively light, so my wife was able to use it. She had to drag on it, but she didn't do too bad. It didn't kill her. It's also important to employ child labor whenever possible. We had my daughter and her cousins, as well as some neighborhood kids, come help us dig all the chunks and roots out of the soil that I brought over. The final step was bringing in some compost to finish out the amendment. We're not going to have to do this every year. Once we were done with all of the tractor work, then I could start doing the fence. Dad helped me on a lot of this. We just used that auger, drilled things out, and set these posts. Very important to get a fence post level. It really helped. Stretching the fence was a piece of cake with the ATV winch. Okay, so here we have the next step of the garden completed. We have the landscaping fabric down. The original reason for this was weeds, of course, just so we don't have to weed in between the rows, and then we're going to put hay over the actual rows of vegetables. But it served a secondary purpose before we get all the mulch down, in that you can see what happens to one of these posts. These posts were in before we got the fabric down. You see all the splatter from the rain. The red dirt here just trashes anything white, and here you can see all of them that are nice and white after we got the fabric down. So it rained after we had the fabric down and after we got these posts in. There's such a big difference. We had torrential rainfall. Sorry for the noise. That's good old Dad mowing the field over there. So yeah, this has been very helpful. It takes time, but this stuff is pretty cheap. And so, man, the time you spend now, it really is going to save us time later as far as just weeding and other things. So yeah, pretty happy with it. Okay, so here's the next stage of armament for our garden. I'm just using chicken wire along the base here, and I just wire it to the bottom of the vertical fence. All that does is prevent burrowing animals from being able to get in. And then of course mulch is going to go over the top of this, so you won't see this. Again, very cheap. This was a 2-foot wide roll. I think it was like 15 bucks a roll, and I needed 3 rolls. The landscaping fabric, grand told, I think will cost us 70 bucks. And so that's basically about 115 bucks to really suppress your weeds and your critters getting into this thing. I'll show you, I'll post in this video, showed up today and there was a rabbit just on the other side of the fence just mowing down the weeds. So we definitely need things to keep them out. There's other burrowing animals here that make this poultry fence pretty helpful. Armadillos probably aren't going to go after much that's in the garden, but they just like to burrow wherever they can. So here you see one of the little critters. They're pretty tame and they're all over their place. We had to get out the holy hand grenade to try to get rid of them. Just kidding. So here is another stage of our development. We have the gate in. I really like the gate bracket system. that we bought. It made the gate extremely easy. The corners were automatically squared, so that was very nice. We have a lot of the chicken wire and landscaping cloth down. We just went and got the pallet of mulch that we're going to put around and in the rows. There you can see my beautiful wife with her stylish bug net, because the bugs are terrible today. And we're just pinning this landscape cloth down, and then we'll throw some mulch over it. We've already got some things in the ground, so that's exciting. And they're calling for rain today, so everything's coming together nicely. And the final thing we did was lay down the mulch. I highly recommend using bags. They were very easy to work with. So here we are about 2 months in, and you can see stuff is just growing like crazy. You can see that even though we left pretty big pathways, a lot of stuff is taking it over. The zucchini's going mental. The cantaloupe and watermelon is spilling in. We'll have to push that back. The potatoes, we just took some old potatoes and planted them, and I'm not sure they're really doing all that well. We may do something different with those next year. The beans are doing well. The peas, snap peas, are starting to come in, and our corn down there is growing very well. The green peppers and tomatoes down there are doing well. In fact, I'm going to harvest our first green peppers today. So I think overall we are pretty happy with our first attempt at a garden, and I hope all of this was very helpful to you, and we'll see you again on Doctor versus Dirt.